Welcome back to Calm Coding.
Your weekly deep dive into cybersecurity news.
Yeah, we've sifted through quite a stack of stories this week.
We really have everything from big state-sponsored
Right
campaigns,
down to threats hiding in video games.
and even, those little devices maybe sitting under your TV that you've forgotten about.
Exactly. So our mission today, as always, is to unpack the important stuff.
Cut through the noise, basically.
Yeah.
Help you understand what's actually happening out there.
And what it means for, well, for you. Whether you're securing a whole network or just trying to browse safely.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start big. State-sponsored activity. Seems like that's always on the radar.
It is, and there's this significant campaign researchers have been tracking since, June last year, targeting businesses globally.
Globally. And the scale.
Well, the confirmed victim count is over 75 organizations.
75 confirmed.
But yeah, researchers think the real number is likely much, much higher.
And who are they hitting? Is it random?
Doesn't look like it. It's critical infrastructure sectors. Think IT services, logistics, media, government,
The big ones.
manufacturing, finance, telecoms, research. Yeah, the pillars.
Feels very strategic then. Do the sources link this to specific actors?
Do. Attribution points towards 3 China-linked groups, APT-15, UNC 5174, and APT-41.
Okay, those names pop up a lot in cyber threat reports.
Right. And it's worth noting, UNC 5174 has identified ties to China's Ministry of State Security.
The MSS, that definitely raises the stakes.
And APT-41, they're known for using tools like the shadow pad backdoor, which incidentally was seen in these attacks too.
So MSS links, sophisticated tools. If they're targeting these critical sectors worldwide, what's the thinking? What's the motivation?
Well, the researchers suggest it could be about positioning.
Positioning for what?
For potential future conflict, maybe. Cyber or even military. It looks like strategic intelligence gathering.
Gathering intel.
Yeah, maybe getting set up to disrupt media or critical services if things escalate. Sort of building access, getting footholds in key places globally, just in case.
Wow. So laying digital groundwork for potential real-world events.
That seems to be the interpretation, yes.
Sobering. Really highlights that cybersecurity isn't just about, stolen credit cards. It's geopolitics.
Absolutely. It's a constant maneuvering in the digital space.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly, but stick with broad threats. Supply chain compromises. That's another huge one.
A massive vector. Attacking widely used software to hit tons of targets downstream.
And we saw a pretty stark example last week involving NPM, right?
We did. NPM, for anyone who doesn't know, is this huge code repository for JavaScript developers. Millions use it.
So hitting something there is like poisoning the well.
Kind of, yeah. And 17 popular packages from a publisher called GlueStack were found compromised.
Compromised with what?
Our RAT, a remote access Trojan.
Okay, and these were popular packages.
Hugely. Over 1 million weekly downloads cumulatively for these 17 packages.
1 million a week. Good grief. The potential reach from that one incident is just massive.
It really is a major supply chain risk.
So this RAT, remote access Trojan, what could it actually do if it got onto someone's system?
Well, like the name says, it gives attackers remote control. This specific one could connect back to their command and control, their C2 servers, upload files from the infected machine, and it could do Windows path hijacking.
Path hijacking. What does that let them do?
It essentially lets them trick your system. When you type a command, say Python, it might run their malicious version instead of the real one. It also lets them override commands like pip.
Okay, so they could basically make your computer run their malicious code instead of legitimate programs. Silently.
Pretty much, yeah. Gives them a way to execute whatever they want.
Nasty stuff. How did GlueStack and NPM handle this once it was found?
GlueStack moved fast, revoked the access token used for publishing the bad versions, deprecated them on NPM.
Deprecated meaning?
Yeah.
Flagged as unsafe.
Yeah, marked as don't use this. They also updated the latest tag to point back to an older, safe version.
But they couldn't just remove the bad versions entirely.
Apparently not, because other projects might depend on those specific version numbers. So they're still technically there, but flagged. Hopefully developers heed the warning.
Man, that really underscores the risk of using open source code, doesn't it? You're trusting everyone up the chain.
It's the inherent gamble. One weak link and boom, thousands, maybe millions affected.
Okay, moving from those wider threats. Let's look at things targeting individuals more directly. Gaming seems to be a big playground for attackers right now.
Oh, absolutely. Especially hitting younger users, Gen Z.
How big are we talking?
One report tracked over 19 million attempts to download malicious files disguised as games or game-related stuff.
19 million. In what time frame?
Just 1 year. April 2024 to March 2025. And that affected around 400,000 people.
That's staggering. Are they going after specific games?
Definitely. They focus on the huge ones with active communities, especially games with lots of mods. Think GTA V, Minecraft, Call of Duty, The Sims.
Right, games where people were always looking for extra content or tweaks.
Exactly. GTA V is a prime example. It's a decade old, but the modding scene keeps it alive, and everyone's hyped for GTA 6, so lots of fake offers related to that.
Okay, so fake mods, fake loaders, cracks. What else are they using as bait?
Promises of exclusive content, early access, beta invites, anything that sounds special.
And where do people typically encounter these?
Gaming forums, social media groups, Discord chats, Telegram, anywhere gamers connect.
And the payload? What malware are these fake files actually dropping?
Usually info stealers grabbing passwords, personal data, also cryptocurrency hijackers, backdoors for later access, various Trojans, basically anything to compromise your system and steal stuff.
So for listeners who are gamers or maybe have kids who game, what's the key advice from the sources?
It's simple but critical. Don't download pirated games or software, period. And be super skeptical of giveaways or offers for rare items that seem too good to be true. They almost always are. Stick to official game stores and reputable mod sites.
Solid advice. Okay, another area seeing a lot of buzz is AI. And surprise, surprise, attackers are exploiting that too.
Yep. There was a campaign using fake AI installers.
How did that work?
Attackers set up a fake website, a spoofed site, promoting an installer for an AI tool called DeepSeek.
Okay.
And get this, they used Google Ads to push traffic to their malicious site. So people searching for AI tools might see this ad, click it, and land on the fake page.
Using Google Ads. That's sneaky. Makes it seem
Yeah.
legitimate. What did the fake installer do?
It actually bundled some real AI tools like Llama and LM Studio, probably to seem more convincing.
Okay.
But it also installed malware called Browser Venom.
Browser Venom. Sounds unpleasant. What's its trick?
It redirects all your web browser traffic through the attacker's servers.
All of it.
Yep, like a malicious proxy. So they can intercept everything, login credentials for your bank, email, anything sensitive you type or see.
Oof. Direct path to credential theft. Who were they targeting?
This campaign specifically hit Windows users, and they even put a CAPI-TCHA on the download page.
KPTCHA.
Why? Likely to try and filter out automated security bots and make the site look more real to actual humans. The malware also needed admin rights, which unfortunately many users just click yes to.
Right. So the warning here is
Crystal clear. Downloading software from anywhere but the official source is risky. Even if it looks legit, even if it's for a trendy tool everyone's talking about, go directly to the developer's site, always.
good rule of thumb. Okay, let's pivot to IoT devices. Things people might not think much about securing, specifically DVR boxes.
That's right, digital video recorders. Certain models like the TBK DVR 4104 and 4216 and others based on that same hardware, they're being targeted.
Targeted how?
Using a known vulnerability. It's actually about a year old now. CVE 2024-3721. Medium severity, but still effective.
A year-old vulnerability.
Yeah.
Still being exploited. Haven't they been patched?
That's the problem. Many haven't been. And the consequence is these compromised DVRs are being sucked into the Mirai botnet.
Mirai, I remember that. Caused huge DDoS attacks years ago, right?
The very same. So, your forgotten DVR box could become part of this massive botnet army.
Used for launching DDoS attacks or
Right.
what else?
Exactly that. DDoS attacks and also proxying other malicious traffic to help hide the attacker's real location. Turns these humble boxes into cybercrime tools.
How many of these vulnerable DVRs are still out there?
Estimates suggest maybe around 50,000 are still online and vulnerable today. It was higher, over 100,000 back in 2024, but 50,000 is still a lot.
50,000 potential botnet recruits. Is there any chance of getting patches out for these?
It's tricky. It's not even clear if the original manufacturer, TBK Vision, released a proper patch, and many other brands just rebadged these models.
So lots of different names on the box, same vulnerable hardware inside.
Precisely. Which makes patching incredibly difficult, probably impossible for most owners. They might not even know who really made their DVR.
That's worrying. A set-and-forget device that's actually a security risk. Really shows that everything connected needs security attention, doesn't it?
It does. The attack surface just keeps growing.
Okay, let's talk business impacts now, and also defenses. There was a report highlighting some, let's say, poor practices in a really critical sector, healthcare.
Yeah, this was quite an eye-opener. Based on analyzing 2.5 terabytes of data, it found that medical places, clinics, hospitals were often using really bad passwords.
Bad how?
Predictable, recycled, or even just default passwords on critical systems.
Defaults. In a hospital, can you share some examples they found?
Oh, sure. They found things like 123456.
Oh, no.
P at Sword with the typical substitutions. Fabrizio 19, Milu 3 at 12345, Mercury 9. Venus 8. And unbelievably, just
A
default.
system potentially holding patient records. That's
Right.
less an IT issue, more a potential patient safety nightmare.
You said it. These passwords are easy pickings for brute force attacks. Get in, move laterally, steal patient data, deploy ransomware, cripple the whole hospital.
What did the report say was the root cause? And the fix?
The main problem seemed to be a lack of clear, enforced password policies, plus not enough staff training.
So basic hygiene, really.
Exactly. The recommendations are standard stuff, but clearly not happening everywhere. Enforce strong, unique passwords, ban defaults, use proper password managers, train people, and, crucially, use multi-factor authentication, 2FA, everywhere possible.
And why should listeners care? Well, apart from your own data being at risk, an attack shutting down a hospital, that affects everyone. ERs closed, surgeries delayed.
Real-world harm from digital insecurity, directly impacting physical well-being.
We saw a real-world example of business disruption too, didn't we? United Natural Foods, UNFI.
Yeah, UNFI, they're huge, North America's biggest wholesale distributor, key supplier for places like Whole Foods.
And what happened?
They detected unauthorized activity and had to take parts of their IT infrastructure offline.
Taking systems offline usually signals something serious, like ransomware.
It's often the response to contain ransomware. Yeah. Stop it spreading or stealing more data. They didn't explicitly say ransomware, but it caused temporary disruptions to their operations. Order delays, things like that.
A major food distributor hit shows the ripple effects, doesn't it? Affecting supply chains.
Absolutely. Their response involved activating their incident plan, bringing in experts, notifying police, the standard playbook, but it highlights the vulnerability of these critical chains.
Everything's so connected. Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. There was some positive news on the law enforcement front.
Yes. Operation Secure, led by Interpol. A big international effort.
What did they target?
Info stealers and malware networks. It ran for 4 months earlier this year, Jan to April, involving 26 countries.
26 countries cooperating. That's impressive. What did they achieve?
Sounds pretty successful. 32 arrests across different countries. They seized 41 servers and grabbed over 100 gigs of data.
Did they manage to take down some of the criminals' infrastructure, servers and things?
They did. Over 20,000 malicious IP addresses linked to info stealers were taken down, and they identified and disrupted 117 command and control servers.
Disrupting the C2s is huge, right? That breaks their control over infected machines.
Exactly. These C2s were used for all sorts of crime, phishing, fraud, scams. They also managed to identify about 216,000 victims or potential victims.
Wow. Any word on private sector help? These things often involve security companies.
Definitely. Companies like Group IB, Kaspersky, Trend Micro provided intelligence. Interpol's director of cybercrime specifically mentioned how crucial that public-private partnership is. Sharing intel is key.
Good to see that cooperation yielding results.
Okay.
Okay, finally, let's look at how businesses themselves are evolving their security approach, especially for smaller companies. Netgear acquiring Exium caught my eye.
Yeah, Netgear, known for routers and switches, buying a cybersecurity firm. It's about integrating security more deeply into networking for SMEs, small and medium enterprises.
Moving towards, what was the term? SA6?
Secure Access Service Edge. Yeah, SASE. The idea is to blend networking and security into one package, often managed via the cloud.
So simplifying things for small businesses that don't have huge IT teams.
That's the goal. Instead of juggling separate firewalls, VPNs, network gear, offer an integrated solution. It makes things like Zero Trust Network Access or ZTNA more achievable for them.
Zero Trust verify everything, always.
Right. Netgear seems to think the threat landscape, especially with AI changing things, requires this more integrated, secure by design approach. Exium's platform is built on that zero trust principle. Existing solutions for SMEs can be too complex or fragmented.
So building stronger security right into the hardware and services from the start makes sense. trying to simplify protection for those who might struggle with it most.
Seems to be the strategy, adapting to the complexity of modern threats.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from state actors and supply chains
To gamers getting targeted, fake AI tools,
vulnerable DVRs, healthcare passwords.
business disruptions, law enforcement wins, and shifts in security tech.
It really shows how varied the threat landscape is, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It touches everything. Global politics, big business, right down to your home network and hobbies. Staying aware feels more important than ever.
All these different stories, they really just map out the interconnected digital world we're all living in.
So, maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. As AI gets woven deeper into our tools, like Copilot and everything else, and as we connect more and more, things like those DVRs,
Yeah.
is that attack surface just growing way faster than our defenses can keep up. And what does that mean for how we balance pushing forward with innovation versus ensuring basic digital safety?
That is definitely the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Something to chew on.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive on calm coding.
We'll be back next week with more insights from the cybersecurity world.
Until then, stay safe online.